Hey everybody, it's your old pal Steve Moore here, owner of RUNMOORE, this spectacular brick and mortar running shop located in Westminster, Maryland. Today we'll be talking about the new Mizuno Wave Rider 28 that came out in July of 2024. This is a very important and big shoe for Mizuno family in general. Obviously, when you hear stuff like version 28, gives you a pretty good idea of how long this shoe has been around. And quite frankly, this really is like the cornerstone of Mizuno's typical line. This is usually when the reps come in, this is like the first thing that they want to lead with because it has been such a tried and true shoe for them over the years. And as somebody who's been running for many moons, I've run in a lot of riders over the type of my life. And definitely for me, of all the Mizuno shoes I've run in, I've put more miles in the Rider of any other model that they've carried out there. So let's first just get into a couple of the specs right away on the new Rider 28. So this shoe is $140. On the men's side, it's 9.9 ounces, and on the women's, it's 8.3 ounces. It's got a 38 millimeter stack height and a 12 millimeter drop. It features a Mizuno Enerzy NXT midsole and a Jacquard Air mesh upper. So there you have it, just a couple of the specs on the new Wave Rider. And of course, it does have a wave plate in it to help give that nice transition from heel to toe. And to me, it adds just a pinch of extra stability to it as well, even though this is considered a neutral everyday trainer. The Wave Rider 28. I will say, just as somebody who's run a lot of Wave Riders over the year, step in, this is probably the most comfortable that I can remember from that. And you know, if you've been a longtime Mizuno fan, I think one of the things that I've always admired about Mizuno is, well, a lot of brands kind of do their one thing. I feel like Mizuno has always kind of pivoted and done their other thing. And this to me is like, when you look at shoes in this category, mid-cushion everyday trainer, this is one of the only shoes left that still has like a pretty darn high drop, 12 millimeters heel to toe, and I'm very glad they kept it there. We've seen a lot of other brands out there in this category who are trying to follow other brands that we carry by lowering the heel and making all these adjustments to sort of try to chase what's else been working in the industry, and the Rider did not. The things that they changed on this, I think, were probably good changes, and I would say, like, first thing out of the gate, not only does the step-in feel great, but the fit is really good. And that is one thing that we've always sort of struggled with Mizuno a little bit, is their reputation was that they were too narrow. You could really feel the high drop. And if you weren't looking for that, when you popped it on compared to some of the other stuff in that same category, it felt very different. You know, a lot of times when I'm pulling for people, I might have like, here are 2 or 3 shoes that are similar. Maybe here's a wild card. But if you just lined up, like, I'm just going to pull, you know, a Brooks Ghost, a Hoka Clifton, a New Balance 880, and a Mizuno Wave Rider. They're all exactly mid-cushion, everyday neutral trainers. And the Rider, to me, was always sort of the one that was the wild card out of that group. It's not the Hoka Clifton, it's the Mizuno Rider, because it was so high, because it was sort of, I say stiff, but it was just more of like a high drop cushion shoe. And I could always hear myself running in the Rider too, because I think probably because of the drop, but I also felt it was a little more slappy. This one has a little bit more of a smooth feel to it, and I feel like the cushion level is great on this. I didn't always feel like I had enough cushion underfoot in the Rider. This does, and even though the weight hasn't changed much to it, it just feels like just a little bit more plush than some of the Riders that I've had on down the road. I think the width on it is great too, and as somebody who fits people that I usually have, that this one might fit a little bit narrow compared to some other shoes you're trying. Like, you almost have to give, not an excuse, but almost let your customer know in advance of, like, you might feel that this is going to fit a pinch different. Or when we're just pulling shoes, we might just naturally pull a Mizuno half size up compared to some of the other stuff that I just mentioned. I think they did a great job of making sure they took care of the sizing and the width and everything on this shoe perfectly. And I felt like it really had a nice plush feeling when I stepped into it, while still having that sort of Mizuno vibe to it. So I think they did a great job with it. Like, not only that, I think the aesthetics are great. Like, this is one of the men's colors. I grabbed one of the women's colors. They've done a great job on the looks of their shoes over the years. And in fact, we've seen that in some of the stuff for next year as well. Like, compared to some of their stuff out there, I think they're going to be making some of the best looking shoes. And while I know that's not everything, it still is an important part when people come in here too, is if I open a box up, they don't like the look of it, even if it's the perfect shoe for them, there is plenty of people who go, no, that's not for me. Let's try something else. So it is important to kind of make sure that the shoe shoe has some good color options, and they did a really good job on that. And I think by keeping it $140, they did a great job on that because things have continued to go up. But if you've looked back at the Rider for the past couple of years, there have been great improvements, but that price has held true. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a tip of the cap to Mizuno on that one. Now, just on the whole, from just the Mizuno Wave Rider, and honestly, this whole category, this is sort of, I think this is the best rider, but I also think it's probably going to be a rider that we don't sell tons of. And that's not necessarily a knock on the shoe. It's more of the category. I was speaking to somebody else in the industry last week, and they were kind of echoing those same sentiments of like, you know, when you're putting on something like a Wave Rider or some of the other mid-cushion everyday trainers out there, like now there's so many more exciting, bouncy, fun geometry. There's just a lot more stuff out there in similar price points. And quite frankly, if you're a true runner and you put this shoe on and then maybe you put on something like the new Mizuno Neo Vista, it's kind of hard to go to this shoe. Like it feels, it's very comfortable to walk around in and certainly go running. But if I was gonna go do like, 10 miles on the road, I'm probably going to pull something that has a little more of a fun midsole, and this Mizuno shoe looks very different from where we are here. But this is sort of the trend of the industry, is more just exciting, fun, kind of make the run go by easy, be able to pick up the pace a little bit more than your rider. So while I think this is a great rider, I think this category in general is starting to see some people kind of look for other options out there. And that's why brands like Mizuno and Brooks and everybody else is starting to make shoes in that same cushion category as an everyday trainer, but just with a little more pop to it. So I think this shoe is really, if you're a ride or die rider, I think you're going to be very happy with the new update. I think they did a great job on a lot of the things that made this shoe what it is. And also, I really appreciate that they made changes, but they didn't make this shoe become what this shoe is now. You can find a Mizuno shoe that's a little more performance-y for an everyday trainer, but if you're somebody who just likes that traditional high drop everyday trainer, I'm not cheating my miles, this shoe is going to be helping me but not doing the running for me, the Rider's a great option at $140 with some really nice price points out there and available in widths. I think you'd be quite happy with this shoe. So that is the new Mizuno Wave Rider 28 that comes out in July of 2024. And if you have any questions on this shoe or any other Mizuno shoes, feel free to leave it down below and I'll get back to you as soon as we can. And if you want to purchase this guy, hey, we really appreciate that too. There's a link down below, and if you enter promo code RUNMOORE, RUNMOORE, you'll save 10% and we'll ship it out for free. And hey, do me a favor, like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. It's a really easy, fun, free way to support me and the shop. And if you're in the greater Westminster, Maryland area, stop on by and say hello. There's an excellent chance you'll catch me here at this fine store. Happy running, and I will see you around town.